WisconsinEye's Campaign 2024 programming is sponsored by Wisconsin Counties Association, Nicolet National Bank, Wisconsin Hospital Association, Operating Engineers Local 139, the Wisconsin Realtors Association, the Wisconsin Laborers District Council, and North Central State's Regional Council of Carpenters. To support programs like this, please consider a tax-deductible donation at wiseye.org/donate or by texting WisCI to 44321.
Stephen Welch from Two Rivers is the Democratic candidate for the 25th Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Stephen Welch, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you for participating in our candidate interviews. What is your campaign's key message? Why are you running?
Basically, the first point I ran for was women's health, which is a big Democratic issue right now, and union activity. Unions for Wisconsin. So I've got 4 granddaughters that are childbearing age and 2 grandsons who are marrying girls. So I don't want them to get in a situation like is happening around the country, like Texas and so on. And that's what my key interest was in the beginning.
So if you're elected, what's an example of a bill that would be a priority to introduce?
Well, it's actually not in that area, but it is in union activity, and Act 10 is something I would like to see reversed. It caused us a lot of problems. My wife was working at the University of Wisconsin in the veterinary school as a vet technician, as a pharmacy technician. And it cut her income substantially plus benefits. So,
if you're elected, you'd be entering the legislature during a biennial budget year, and the state's projected to have a over $3 billion surplus. Right. What would be your top 2 priorities for
What I would like to see done with some of that, at least, is to help seniors. Reduce property taxes for seniors. It gets to be a big issue. Some people on just Social Security, that could affect them greatly. So I would like to see that done with that money.
Are there any other areas of spending in the budget or tax reform that are a priority for you?
I would like to see the voucher program done away with for schools.
For school vouchers?
Yep. I would like to see that funded by the people who actually use it, rather than have a referendum every couple of years to I think the last time in Manitowoc they had a 5.5 tax thing that went into vouchers, but then they had to pass a $5.7 million referendum to help cover it. So,
you're talking as a priority around education. Are there things working well in K-12 education, or other things that need to be fixed?
Well, going back to the Act 10, we need to get teachers to stay, and I think we lost 10% of the teachers with Act 10, and it's an ongoing problem. So we need to be able to keep teachers in the classroom, pay them a decent wage with decent benefits, so that we still have those people.
More overall funding in K-12 education.
Right.
What about higher education? What does the future of that system look like to you? 4-year, 2-year colleges, technical colleges?
We need to invest, and we need to tell kids that it's all right not to go to college. Maybe what you should do is go to a technical school and learn a trade, which is what my youngest daughter did. She became a RN, nurse, and her income is well above what you think most graduates in college make. So we need to tell people that going to a tech school is not a failure. It's a good paying future.
Does the Universities of Wisconsin system need more funding?
Yes, they do. That's what happened with Act 10, and I think we lost a lot of professors from the University of Wisconsin in Madison because they were not making what they did before, and their benefits were cut. So why stay? They go someplace else.
What do you see as the state's largest workforce development challenge, and what needs to be done about it?
Well, again, we need to have kids learn that they can learn trades. They can learn,
Skills?
Skills, yeah. They need to learn to be carpenters. They need to use programs where they, like a plumbing, to work with plumbers, and then you get certified as a plumber, electrician. Apprenticeships, yes.
Investments in public and energy infrastructure grow our state's economy. These investments also provide an opportunity to invest in our state's workforce. But currently, there are no requirements for hiring local workers. Would you support a state resident hiring requirement for state, local, and utility scale infrastructure investment?
As long as there are qualified people to fill those positions, yes. But again, if people don't want to go to school, learn trades or whatever, we're going to have to bring people in from wherever we can get them to fill those positions. But we need to develop that type of infrastructure so that we have qualified people working, but primarily Wisconsin would be best.
Employee classification is an issue in the construction industry. Some employers misclassify workers as independent contractors or pay them in cash off the books. This lowers costs by avoiding payroll taxes and unemployment insurance, and it puts compliant companies at a disadvantage when bidding on projects. Plus, misclassified workers may be denied minimum wage protections or overtime pay. Are you aware of this, and what do you think should be done?
I think what we have to do is classify the workers properly. Bringing in outside workers, or I know migrant workers is a big problem, but for trade people, you can't just turn your back and then bring somebody else in that may be minimally qualified and not protect them with the benefits of the job protections, because that can cause tremendous disadvantages for the company that does it. They can be taken to court. They can, be sued for back wages, for back overtime, for all those other things. So it is a problem, and it cuts everybody else's chance to work.
Affordable rental housing is also an issue in Wisconsin. Some have proposed government-imposed rent control to maintain affordability, while others argue keeping rent artificially low will decrease rental supply, resulting in increased prices. What is your sense of housing as an issue, and which best addresses rental housing affordability? Is it rent control, building more housing rentals, or other?
Well, one of the problems we're having up in Two Rivers is we're getting bought out by massive real estate companies. For example, we just did a refinance on our house, and we bought it 6 years ago for about $40,000, just a small house for my wife and I. But they reassessed it, and it was $94,000 they put on that same house. And if these real estate companies start buying up properties and doing that, that's going to artificially raise people's rent. It's forcing people out of their homes. There's a lot of empty, like old motels, school buildings. There's one in Manitowoc that they're refurbishing and turning it into a transient home for people for up to 2 years, so that they have a place to live and can get themselves settled, get into a work. Manitowoc County has only got a 2.8% unemployment rate. And we don't have that many homeless people, but the ones that we do need to be protected. And we have to keep people from price gouging, which I think that's really what that amounts to, is they're going in there, they're buying up these properties for a ridiculous amount of money, but then nobody could afford to pay the rent on our house that would be charged at that rate. So.
Moving on to healthcare, medical systems are facing numerous headwinds in the form of inflation, workforce development, and issues around Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement, resulting in fewer services and even the closure of a hospital system in western Wisconsin. What would you do to preserve access to care and prevent future closures?
One of the things that we should do is take the federal Medicaid money So we're one of only 10 states that didn't take that money. And in northwestern Wisconsin, it's a big problem. There are a lot of hospitals closing, doctors that don't provide because there's just no income for them. So if we had Medicaid, they could do that. That would be a big step in that direction. They could funnel the money to where it's needed, small towns, small hospitals. I mean, there are people already up there that have to cross into Minnesota to get health care. They're so far away from their hospitals and doctors. If there's an emergency, they almost cannot get care, and we have to make sure that care is available. That I think the Medicaid money would be a big help for that.
Mental health care is also a growing concern for Wisconsinites and for state and county budgets. In your district, what are you hearing on this issue, and how would you address mental health care?
It's a big issue, and up in the Manitowoc school system, they can't find anybody to come in and be counselors. Most kids get their counseling through their schools, but with budget cuts and things like that, there's nobody available to come in to help them. And we need to have that. We need to bring the pay up for the teachers, pay enough to bring in healthcare workers. My opponent has been trying for over 10 years to try and get mental health bills passed. And until we get a system in Wisconsin where we're not a one-party government anymore, where we actually have enough Democrats to talk to the people and force them to communicate, we're not going to get that. We have to have an assembly that is set up for the people and to present both sides of the issues.
Moving on to the abortion issue, how should Wisconsin move forward on the issue of abortion? Abortion
is not it's a necessary health care. If a woman has an ectopic pregnancy or the fetus dies or is not viable, they have to be able to take care of those kind of situations. I'm not a big proponent of abortion for general birth control, but in cases where it's obviously going to turn out wrong, the doctors have to be free to do that. And we're losing OB/GYN doctors because they're afraid of it. They can't do those things that they really need to do for people.
So you don't believe in any limits on abortion in Wisconsin?
I think as far as if there's a problem, it's like going to an emergency room. You should be able to get the care that the woman needs. And this choice has to be up to the woman. It has to be between her and her doctor. We can't have legislators in that room with the doctor and the woman. That doesn't work. It's a personal choice. It's a tough choice. And most people that do it don't do it just because. They're trying to save themselves.
Transportation. What are the pressing transportation needs in your district, and how important is it that these needs are addressed and for the state to keep on schedule with the reconstruction of aging interstates and significant corridors of commerce?
I would like to see high-speed rail. From Manitowoc to Madison would be good. Manitowoc to Milwaukee, major centers. A lot of cities, I used to be an airline pilot, and in South Bend, Indiana, they put all the transportation in one unit. The airline terminal was there, the bus terminal was there, and the train station was there. And you could get just about anywhere from there. And that would be a great for small cities, even the size of Milwaukee. If we could put stuff like that together, people could travel and use public transportation, take the load off the road system.
In the environment, PFAS and other water contaminants are a concern for a growing number of Wisconsinites. Do you see this as an important issue, and how should it be addressed?
It is an important issue. Clean water is a necessity. We can't have a water system that is filled with toxins. These major farms, big farms, factory farms, they pollute the watershed because it drains right into our water supply. And it doesn't sit there long enough to really clean out. So we have water toxins in there, and that's unhealthy. We have air that they don't want to make sure stays clean anymore. And both of those are extremely important for kids and for old people.
What should the legislature do about this issue?
They should pass some laws. I think they need to restrict the factory farms so that they can't just pump the water into the ground. They have to, put it in tanks and truck it to some place or a facility. A water treatment plant could take care of a lot of that stuff. It would put a bigger strain on that, but then they could pay for it, which would be a boon for the water treatment plants because they could improve the quality and use that as a way of helping take the toxins out of the water.
We are on to our final two questions.
Okay.
How would you describe the leading differences between you and your opponent?
Well, I do give my opponent a great deal of credit for his trying to pass mental health issues. But the biggest problem is he's the other side of the aisle, so they don't talk to people. They can't work together and communicate. I was a contract negotiator when I was with the airline. And you have to be able to make concessions, work together and talk. And until we get enough Democrats in there to make a difference, we're never going to get anything accomplished.
Well, to that point, your final question is, if you're elected and you have a magic wand you can use in the state capitol to work on an issue that brings all parties together, what would that issue be?
The inability to talk to each other. I would love to see, we were handing out signs for my campaign in a fairly red area, and people are afraid to take the signs and put them in their yards because they don't want to have the neighbors retaliate, and there has been some of that. And until we all learn to get together and talk, nothing will ever be done. We need to balance the assembly.
Well, thank you, Stephen Welch from Two Rivers, the Democratic candidate for the 25th Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Stephen Welch, thank you for talking with WisconsinEye.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
This programming is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Thank you for watching.